Hi, this is Mark Wade from Prudential Fox and Roach, CenterCityCondos.com. And in this short podcast, I'd like to talk about the difficulty in reselling certain condominiums here in Center City. It's what I call, there are some condos in town that are like the Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. And here's the scoop. If there's a building that, let's say, has less than 50% owner occupancy ratio, that means, there's 100 units in the building and 40 of them are owner occupied and 60 of them are rented out or not sold or in the hands of a bank or something like that. That is a bozo no-no in the eyes of Fannie Mae. It means that the property is not Fannie Mae warrantable, and you cannot get a loan on those for the most part. Now, you might find a lender, you might be able to pull a lender out of your hat from Boise, Idaho, or God knows where, but from generally the users, the lenders that we use and know of and check with and consult with, that's a huge red flag. So it's very difficult to get a loan on properties like those. If, let's say, there's a number of rules that condo buildings have to jump through. The developer can't own more than 10% or one individual investor can't own more than 10% of the properties. There can't be more than 25% of the building that is dedicated to commercial space. All these are make the properties not Fannie Mae warrantable and therefore difficult to mortgage. And here's the scoop. Here's what happens. One other thing, a lawsuit. If there's a lawsuit against the building, ingoing or outgoing, that's going to put a real crimp in the building. There's one building in town that has had a lawsuit going on for, let's say, 3 years, and it's a real problem because nobody in that building can sell. And why? I mean, it's not that they don't, they can put their unit on the market, but the building is not really available, to my knowledge, for financing. Nobody will finance those condos. So what happens? So for 3 years, no units in the building can sell. Let's just say that's the case. So what happens is you get lower owner occupancy ratios because what happens is that the owners move out, and since they can't sell them, what do? Anyone? They rent them. And then what happens is after 3 or 4 years, they try to, those sellers kind of try to get on with their life. And then if they do put them on the market, we have a backlog of sellers looking to sell, and they compete against each other, and they continue to lower their price. So in certain buildings where there are stoppers to financing on that building, it can be a real downward spiral for the building's values as a whole because you have sellers competing against each other. You have some sellers who can't sell their property. What do? They stop paying their mortgage. Then what happens? It either becomes a short sale or foreclosure. Enough short sales and foreclosures in a specific building will reset the pricing structure in that building. It's happened to a big new building here in Center City where a whole slew of condos, it started with one relocation property, and it sold for about 60% of what it originally sold for. So if it sold for $1 million, it came back on the market and sold for $600,000. Now those properties are selling for, let's say, 50 cents on the dollar, and they are. And what happens is that there's been 7 of them in a row that have sold for 50 cents on the dollar. Well, that resets the pricing structure because it's not like an appraiser's going to come in and say, oh, let's forget those past 7 sales. Sure, your condo's worth $1 million, Mr. Seller, who wants to sell and can't really sell because there's a backlog in the building or there's something fun, there's a number of short sales or low owner occupancy ratio. So do you see the downward spiral that happens here is that eventually the price structure of the building will get reset if there are stoppers or if the building has an inability to procure loans on that building for individual units in that building. I hope I'm making myself clear here. So it's a real problem. Again, the Hotel California, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Now, I try to keep my buyers away from buildings like this because I don't see them as worthy investments unless my buyer is buying a foreclosure and then is able to buy it for 40 cents on the dollar. Then I'm all over it. Then I think, hey, this is a great building. And there are a couple buildings like that. I sold a unit to a young gentleman who got such a fantastic deal. He was well aware of the low owner occupancy ratio in the building and the building's inability, its poor track record of sales due to a variety of reasons, be it location, be it the way the building's managed, or the low owner occupancy ratio, or the short sales in the buildings, or the foreclosure, or, a cow jumped over the moon. Whatever the reason is, it doesn't matter. But I try to keep my buyers away from buildings like that. And if you're a buyer of mine, I'm going to try to keep you away from those buildings unless we find a short sale or a foreclosure where you're going to get such a fantastic deal that fantastic deal can override all the negatives of the building. So there are things to watch out for here in Center City. Not all buildings are created equal. There are a number of factors that will impact the value of that condo beyond just the fact that it's dirty or ugly or doesn't show well or has low ceiling height or something like that. There are a lot of other intangibles, non-visible factors that are going to affect values of condos here in town. And I hope that you'll listen to this podcast and say, hey, I better keep my eyes open for those. And how do you keep your eyes open for those? You pick up that telephone, you push the buttons, 215-521-1523. Give me a call. This is Mark Wade from CenterCityCondos.com, a Prudential Fox and Roach, and let's chat about some of the pitfalls of buying condos here in Center City. Now, some of the pitfalls are kind of few and far between. It doesn't apply to a lot of buildings in town, but there are some buildings you may want to avoid if you're looking to pop back out of that building in 5 years and get a dog, a wife, a kid, and a house load of IKEA furniture and move to the suburbs. You may not be able to move on with your life if indeed you're trapped inside the Hotel California. You know what I mean? Anyway, Mark Wade, 215-521-1523. Give me a call. Let's chat. See ya.